Let's bring in our panel. Tucker Carlson is here with us in the spin room. Dana Perino and Juan Williams are back in New York. All right, Tucker, your impressions, your thoughts.
It was a tough night for Kaine. I mean, I think he entered it with the presumption of decency. I think most people think he is a decent guy. He's not a natural debater, much less so even than I thought. I think the physical posturing, the interruptions did not work well. But fundamentally, it was tough because he is in the position of defending the status quo. He's there representing, in effect, the incumbent. And the status quo is very unpopular, which is why this whole election is unfolding as it is. So that was difficult. I thought in the end, the introduction of partial birth abortion, it wasn't simply abortion, and the country is split on that. The country is not split on third trimester abortion. However, it's very against it. And I thought that was a really revealing moment. That is the kind of thing that Republicans in the past 10 years have been very hesitant to do, to bring up. They're very uncomfortable with it.
Mike Pence is never uncomfortable.
He is not, but the uncomfortable man on the stage tonight on that topic was Tim Kaine, much more than I expected. He seemed unprepared for it, and he seemed almost squirming in his seat. It'll be interesting to see what the polls reveal, but I thought that was, wow, kind of a moment.
That was, of course, an issue. I mean, Trump is on camera back in the day saying he was in favor of partial birth abortion. Now he says he's not. But that was one of the issues on which he's been hit for flip-flopping. Yep. Although today the party tickets seem clearly divided on the issue of abortion. At least they tell us that. Dana Perino is with us as well in New York. Your thoughts, Dana?
Well, I think that Mike Pence will probably be the one that is declared the winner of tonight's debate and the performance. I think it was a reminder to a lot of Republicans who, back before there were 17 candidates in 2015 for the primary, Mike Pence was considered one of the Republicans that many people thought would be good to be at the top of the ticket, and there was a lot of disappointment when he decided that he was going to not run for president. He was going to stay and try to run for re-election in Indiana as the governor. So tonight I think he did a really good job. I do think that there will be a lot of post-debate analysis of things that he was asked to defend that Donald Trump had actually said, that then he sort of let go and would focus back on Clinton. I thought that was good. Two things I thought were a big missed opportunity. We did not hear a lot about Obamacare, and I actually think that just for both of them, that is something that they could have brought up because President Obama will be speaking about it tomorrow. And then the second thing is just a big overall changes that the American economy is about to face and how these two men would try to guide the next president who is going to have to deal with this oncoming of technology changes and robotics. That is not just trade that's going to change the landscape, but all of those things that they talked about in the primary. Sort of missed opportunity tonight, I thought.
Yeah. Senator Kaine probably didn't want to talk about Obamacare after former President Clinton said what he said about it being crazy that small businesses are taking it on the chin, especially in, Midwest states.
He was saying it works for the working class, but not for the middle class.
So, Juan, what about Tim Kaine's performance? I saw some on social media saying that this was like Al Gore in 2000. It was kind of annoying.
I didn't think so at all. In fact, I was impressed, especially when he was talking about abortion. I think that's going to be in the headlines tomorrow because we so rarely see that debated on this kind of stage because everybody's so afraid to say the wrong thing. And tonight, I think it was really something to hear Senator Kaine talk about his religious faith and then say, what about Donald Trump saying women who have an abortion should be punished? And I think that put Governor Pence on his heels. And I think a lot of the interrupting that you've been talking about, a lot of the emphasis on the tax and the refusal to release the taxes kept Governor Pence back on his heels. Where I thought Governor Pence did well was when he was saying, hey, wait a second, let's look at the reality of the situation. For example, in dealing with race and the cops, and he came back to the idea of standing with law enforcement, standing with the police, delivering a clear message. Even in that situation, though, what you heard from Tim Kaine was, are you trying to suggest that there is no bias involved in sentencing and arrest records and the like? And again, what you saw was that the governor had difficulty coming to terms with it. So even as he was interrupting, if that was the strategy, he was continually pushing the governor against the ropes, and I think the governor was stuttering and stammering and trying to come to some agreement about it, some understanding, like a situation like Syria, unable to come to explanation of what it means to have a safe zone. I think that's what people are going to take away from this.
I don't want to interrupt you, but on Facebook and Twitter, about 60% of the conversation, we're told, was about Governor Pence. They don't say whether that's positive or negative, but it is a lot of focus on him.
Well, speaking of Twitter, Tucker Carlson, as the two candidates on stage were arguing over who was driving a more insult-driven campaign, right? That's what they were arguing about. Donald Trump was insulting Tim Kaine and tweeting out, retweeting people who had tweeted, "Kaine looks like an evil crook out of the Batman movies." And then Trump retweeted another person saying that Tim Kaine looked like a fool, which led comedian John Lovett to say Trump is insulting people at the same moment Mike Pence is dodging questions about Trump insulting people.
Yes. Well, yes, Mr. Trump is now at the center of this conversation again tonight.
What a shock.
Although he wasn't on stage. But they were kind of making parallel arguments. So Kaine he made it consistently from beginning to end, the argument that Trump has disqualified himself by the things that he has said. They are so unattractive, so appalling that he can't be president. Pence was making the argument that Hillary has disqualified herself by the things that she has done. They have been so ineffectual. They haven't worked. She's responsible for the America we're all dissatisfied with. And so it was kind of a stark contrast. I mean, and they each have a case, I think, but they were arguing past one another. I mean, you didn't see Pence say really anything about what Hillary has said, and you didn't see Kaine say anything about what Trump has done.
Well, he struck back saying she has called half of our supporters deplorable.
Well, that's
so
right.
He
for a moment, but mostly, I mean, of course, Trump doesn't hold office, so perhaps that's part of it. But really, this was about turnout, in my view, from beginning to end. You saw Kaine repeating ugly things that Trump has said about African Americans, Latinos, and unmarried women, and those are the three groups they need to turn out.
Dana, at the end, Pence came back to what we thought he was going to come back to, and that is change. That Mike Pence, Donald Trump are change, and Hillary Clinton is the establishment, the ultimate establishment. And did he make that case? I mean, he tried to make it that she was Secretary of State and the world is falling apart under President Obama at the beginning, and then tried to drive it home at the end that he's change.
I don't know if it will stick, but I agree with Tucker that the easier job tonight was certainly for the out-party candidate, which is actually really not Pence, but Trump. And he was saying that, I was there 12 years, and I know that there's a possibility to actually make some progress and make some change and do some things that would be amazing and make America great again. He was short on sort of canned answers, and I think that Kaine was so over-practiced, and some of the lines were like, okay, come on, obviously they're so practiced. Pence is very smooth, and so if you're listening to it, you think, gosh, somebody like that who just sort of tells it like it is and is just more comfortable in their skin than a regular, typical establishment politician might be an attractive candidate. I don't think that either of them expanded beyond their bases tonight. I don't know if Kaine was able to fire up the minority community or millennials, because they know that they have a problem there, and I don't know if he hit anything out of the park. I think Pence will be clearly seen to be the winner of this particular debate.
Dana Perino, are you feeling emotional this evening? I noticed the tear, just a single tear rolling down your face.
I have chronic dry eye, and it's horrible. And only this one will leak, and this one's dry, and I don't know what to do about it. I'm sorry.
Dana,
I thought you were hearkening back to, like Bush Cheney. Remember when they were out there?
It's over, Dana. It's okay.
I'm sorry.
All right, Dana, Juan, Tucker, thank you very much.
Coming up, we're going to hear from both sides on tonight's debate.